Yeah, so it is on. Awesome. Yeah, let's not do that again. So, real quick timeline. And I was at Otago back in late 1990s, and we had one proper information assurance computer security style paper at postgrad that Hank was running, and a networking paper. And Weltec, on the other hand, they had already had their principles of information security by 2003, so very briefly after Otago. Then a specific digital forensics paper, which is absolutely fantastic because that has been a growth area for quite some time. Possibly as Ian or someone else may have talked about, how can we prove the person committed the crime? How can we get that evidence? How can we analyse it? And that's kind of where my PhD's at. Then in 2007, so over 10 years ago, a specific graduate diploma, information assurance and security. Sorry, I'll slow down a bit. And as said, we've got a number of students here today who have taken that qualification. 2010, a major in information security at the BIT level, and starting this year, but mainly for next year, a BIT major in cybersecurity. And one of the things you'll notice with security and many things, the name changes, but the concept of what it is stays the same. So the cybersecurity major in BIT, digital ethics, and there was definitely a presentation on that. That's something you really need to think about. That goes back to the psychology, the philosophy, why people do what they do. Do they believe the same things that we believe in? And networking fundamentals, which as we've talked about, you need to have. Again, Ian put out security for DevOps, so looking at the web app problem from a different perspective, more forensics, love forensics, cryptography, security testing, how you know what you're doing is correct, as John was pointing out, issues around that, and the nebulous cloud security. But wait, there's more. Ian also said this, always go first when you can. You can do the 1 year either postgraduate certificate or diploma, and that leads into the level 9 masters. Level 8, we offer forensics again, networking and security, and the research proposal. So you've probably already got a really good idea of what part of security you really find fascinating. You spend a proper semester actually sitting down, working out how can we make this academic? How can we look at a problem that may not have been fully solved? How do we know it's a good question to look into? And then you'll be able to go into level 9, work on your masters and go from there. And as said, you've probably got a million ideas from just this weekend alone. If you don't have a specific idea, I know Ian's got a lot of really cool pet projects that he may have funding for that he'd really love a top student to do, and I'm in that same sort of situation. There's so many good ideas, and it's finding the right student who wants to work on it. So that's where we're at with Weltec.
So how long is the BIT course?
The BIT is the standard 3-year Bachelor's of Information Technology. The graduate diploma is normally 1 year, and while it's not aimed explicitly at international students, we have a lot of international students come in, predominantly because it helps with permanent residency. Then the level 8 can be a certificate for a semester where you just do the 4 papers. It should be the diploma because that's 8 papers, again, more PR points, and that then leads into the final part of your masters. So if you really want to do the masters, you do the full level 8 for a year, and then you spend a semester pretty much finishing off your masters from there. So ours is pretty much more or less 18 months, depending on how you measure it.
So, sorry to ask questions, maybe other people can after me. So the postgraduate diploma, that's if you've got a degree in something else, and then you want to spend 1 year levelling up in security? Is that
yes, it's the pathways are many and numerous and sometimes confusing, but generally the graduate diploma would be for people who have a qualification, some computing background, and just want 1 year to really certify or clarify they know information assurance. And as we were talking about earlier, there'll be plenty of jobs in that. And then the postgraduate diploma is its own standalone qualification, so you could spend a year on that, but much like the game show, which I've kind of implied here, you might as well come back for just one part longer to turn that diploma into a proper master's.
Cool, and I'm going to ask one more question because I want to see the fight. Which one's better, Weltec or OWASP? Like what? I mean, you've obviously got a differentiation between you.
I can possibly be a tad more neutral on this because I've worked at university as well. But geez, Ian's getting ready to stand up, so get the cameras on in case it gets a bit violent. Probably the major difference is a Polytech. Actually, I've got this on the next slide. We have a lot of industry certifications, which is why that was a great question earlier. So we've talked about these and the panels have them. Potentially is a lot more hands-on. So there'll be a lot more using Kali and Metasploit in a safe environment because you don't want to break things in the real world. And although Ian has mentioned his real world experience in network and other jobs, our staff do tend to have, and I've got real world experience as a network engineer as well, tend to have that more real world experience where some academics will be the type of person, great, I've been at university for 20 years, got a PhD, university's awesome, let me stay at university for another 20 years type of thing.